Hello, I'm Benjamin Limmer, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation, and I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll share exciting news and updates and explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system. In 2023, the Connecticut Department of Transportation unveiled its first ever Customer Experience Action Plan, which sets the stage for key programs, policies, and investments designed to improve bus and rail services across the state. Now the 2024 Annual Progress Report is here, which provides key updates on the original 26 actions outlined in the plan, as well as introducing 3 brand new initiatives aimed at further enhancing the overall customer experience. So we're excited to be joined today by Dan Baker, Transportation Supervising Planner at the Connecticut DOT, who will, of course, walk us through the highlights of the progress that's been made over the last year. And I'm equally thrilled to welcome a partner in the transit space, Mike Helta, who's the Chief Customer Experience Officer at the Maryland DOT, the Maryland Transit Administration. Mike's going to share his insights into how the agency is working to deliver the best possible experience for their customers, and hopefully we can share some best practices. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Dan, start with you, since the podcast detailed the Customer Experience Action Plan in prior episodes. Can you give us the highlights of the 2024 progress?
Certainly. So when the department released the CX Action Plan back in 2023, we made the commitment to issue annual progress reports to our transit customers and stakeholders. And the first progress report was released in June of 2024. And it really includes updates to all of the actions that seek to improve service, make the transit system easier to use throughout Connecticut, and enhance accessibility and comfort on all of our services. So as far as some highlights go, there's been 7 new CT Transit bus routes throughout the state that went into effect this year, including 3 new routes that serve New Britain, a new route serving the town of Southington, a new route in Stamford, Connecticut, 1 new route between New Haven and Milford, and the first new CT Fast Track route since the launch of the Fast Track, and that's Route 125 that serves the Berlin Turnpike. Another highlight, back in fall of 2022, the Customer Experience Unit, we held what we called bus seat labs, where we asked customers to test out and vote on their preferred seating material for new buses. And over this past summer, a total of 50 brand new electric buses with those customer-picked seats and USB charging ports have been delivered and are now in service. So look for the electric blue bus wrap to spot those new buses out on the roads. Another exciting update is the 7 new microtransit services that we launched in 2024. And these new services are part of the microtransit pilot program, and they're throughout the state, operated by Norwalk Transit, Greater Hartford Transit, Greater Bridgeport, Valley Transit, Milford Transit, River Valley Transit, and Southeast Area Transit. And there are additional microtransit pilot services that will be set to launch in Stamford and New Haven soon. And quickly on the rail side of things, as far as major rail station improvement updates, earlier this year, the department released the Stamford Transportation Center Master Plan concepts, and the new Stamford parking garage opened earlier this year. Additionally, demolition began on the original garage on Station Place down in Stamford, which is opening up opportunities for new transit-oriented development in its footprint. So those are just a few of the many updates included in the progress report.
That's terrific, Dan. Certainly the action plan is full of just that action. Speaking of, can you talk about the 3 new actions that were identified as part of the 2024 update?
Yeah, definitely. So one new action is the Commercial Driver's License, or CDL, training program. And this is a Connecticut DOT-led pilot program, which is actually open to all public transit service providers in the state. And in this training program. There's a certified Connecticut DOT employee that's helping candidates meet the licensing requirements that's needed for them to take their CDL test. So the goal of this is to really support workforce development initiatives for bus operators statewide and hopefully have the effect of increasing operator staffing levels at all of our transit districts. Another new action is the CT Fast Track and CT Rail Security Program. And this is thanks to a memorandum of understanding between Connecticut DOT and Connecticut State Police. And now 4 state troopers are dedicated to provide oversight and an additional layer of security on the fast track and on CT rail for our customers and our operators. And the last new action in the progress report is the statewide transit customer code of conduct. This was a really collaborative initiative where we convened all of the transit districts and we asked for their feedback on what are the most important rules, on board your buses. And some of our service partners even polled customers at some of the busier bus hubs to get their input on what the most important rules are when riding public transit. And customers across the state will see these new code of conduct posters on board all buses beginning this fall.
Let's switch to Mike. Mike, first of all, thanks so much for coming to our podcast. Maryland, similar to Connecticut, is a DOT that does oversee public transportation. That much I know, but can you give our listeners a little background on the multimodal transit systems that the Maryland Transit Administration oversees, and tell us about Maryland's focus on improving public transit?
Sure. Yes, the Maryland Transit Administration is a state agency, and so we are responsible for managing, delivering, and overseeing much of the public transit across the entire state. And so the direct modes that we control, we have 6 of them. We have a core bus service, which provides the bus service for the Baltimore metropolitan area. We also have a light rail line. We have a metro line, again, in the Baltimore area. We also oversee the delivery of our commuter rail system, which is the MARC train, if you've heard of that. It goes between Baltimore, north of Baltimore, to DC, and then out west into Frederick area. And then we also have a statewide commuter bus service, which kind of connects a lot of the different metropolitan areas. And we're also the federal pass-through agency for all of the locally operated transit funding that goes to all of our LOTS partners across the state. So we have quite a portfolio. A lot of different things that we're trying to take care of. And obviously, each one of those services has some nuance in what the customer expects, and also has some nuance in the way that we deliver things and measure things. We've been really trying to hone in on that over the past year since we launched the Customer Experience Office, which was in September of 2023. It was actually the 26th, and so it was right around this time. We're hitting our 1-year anniversary. And we're a few years behind you all. So I've watched you all as you've put out your different documents, and it's been very inspirational for us. And so a lot of things that we do are crafted by some of the pioneers like you all.
Well, happy first birthday to your office. We certainly timed this podcast well. So yeah, Connecticut has the action plan. You have, I think it's called the dashboard. What were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we launched in September. This first year has been a lot of discovery and honestly build out of the office. Some new functions were developed as part of this new office. And so we had to hire the right people and mobilize and kind of develop exactly what we were. But one of our first public facing things that we launched was the customer experience dashboard, which can be found on mta.maryland.gov. Go to the About dropdown, and then there's a customer experience dashboard in there. But this was a really big effort to try and improve our transparency with our riding public, and to put some customer-facing metrics that were less industry buzzwordy and make them make sense to our riders. And so what we put out there is for each of our 6 modes, the on-time performance. We also put out there how much service we've delivered. So we want to be honest about the fact that coming out of the pandemic, we had some issues with cutting service because we didn't have enough operators. There was a lot of different things going on. And so we wanted to be honest with the public to say, the service might not be what you're expecting it to be. And here's some reasons why. And so we put service delivery in there, which is kind of the inverse of cut service, if you will. We also have real-time availability. And so a big thing that our riders are really wanting is real-time information on all their vehicles. And so we put out a metric on there that says for every single vehicle out there, how many of them had real-time information available or vehicle location available for those. And then finally, the fourth main thing is we measured the accuracy of the predictions, because what good is a real-time prediction or real-time information if the prediction is no good? So we put all those four things out there to the public for each of our different modes. And we also have ridership on there. And we also have a chart on there on our hiring to show people the progress we have made on hiring our operators. And I think as of end of August, early September, we got back to almost 100% of our operator positions being filled, which is a huge achievement, which has really, really helped us deliver the vast majority of our service, a big improvement over 2 or 3 years ago.
Mike, that is terrific news. Speaking of the public, what was the public's response to the dashboard and all the things that you guys are doing?
So the advocates love the dashboard. A lot of the riding public isn't really too worried about a dashboard thing that we put on our website, if I'm going to be honest with you. And so what we've really been trying to do with one of the new departments in the customer experience office is our rider experience team. And so their whole mission is to go out and meet the riders where they're at. And so they go out in the service. We have a position that we've created called rider talkers. And so they ride and they talk. They don't go out there and do just kind of like a static survey. They sit down with somebody and they have a thoughtful conversation. And then they document what was discussed. And then we bring that back and we start to trend all of these conversations so that we can, as we look into 2025, build out an actual action plan based on what we heard back from our riders, instead of just going on our intuition as industry, subject matter experts. We know some stuff, but we don't know the experience of the rider. And so we're really leaning in to getting out there, talking with our riders, having meaningful conversations, and then polling from there what we're hearing, which will then go into our big action plan that we're trying to get ready for 2025, which would be kind of like the one you all put out in 23 and 24. Putting it out there to the public to say, here's our commitment. And here's what we're going to do. And this is based off of what we heard from you. We want to create a feedback loop, an ongoing conversation, and to build that trust with our ridership that we are working on their behalf.
Well, Mike, I'm glad you brought up 2025. So Dan, back to you. We talked about 2024, but can you share a little on what actions the public will see on Connecticut's transit systems in the upcoming year?
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting improvements on the horizon. Beginning in October 2024, the department is launching a tap and ride pilot program on all River Valley fixed route buses and CT Transit Meriden Division buses. And this project, it's part of the Connecticut Integrated Transit Mobility Project, which is a USDOT funded Stage 1 SMART grant project. So for the first time in Connecticut, bus customers in the Middletown and Meriden service areas will be able to tap their debit or credit card or their mobile wallet to pay for their bus fares and transfer seamlessly across both systems with a fare cap established that's across operators. This is an important pilot project, and that's going to help us develop the roadmap for a larger scale rollout of contactless fare payment technology on board buses across the state. Another action that has significant impact on the customer experience is the department's bus stop enhancement program. So the first installations of new shelters and enhanced bus stop amenities are coming soon to municipalities around the state. And speaking of soon, on the rail service side of things, Stamford through trains are returning to Shoreline East to the schedule this fall, which is exciting news for Shoreline East customers, offering additional one-seat ride options for them.
All right. Well, that's a good look into the future. Mike, you all should be commended for your public outreach and all the work that you guys have done in Maryland with customer engagement. Curious though, what are the main takeaways from all of your outreach you have done so far, and were there any surprises to you?
One of the main takeaways that I would say is that we need to do more outreach. I'm getting some amazing information back from the team. They synthesize it and we talk about it every 2 or 3 weeks. We see what is trending up, what is trending down. And it's really enlightening to see that we're collecting these trends, but it just kind of makes us drive that we want to get more and more information from our riders. For a long time, here at the agency, I helped oversee kind of our big data KPI team. And we said, let's not look at the anecdote, let's look at the data. And now that we're jumping into the customer experience side, a person's experience is an anecdote. And if we collect enough of those anecdotes, then that starts to become statistically significant. And it's no longer an anecdote if we talk to 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people and start to hear these types of things. And so my main learning thing is we need to do more of this. And that's big on our roadmap. We're hiring 2 more rider talkers for next year. And so their full-time job will be out there to be in the system. They also work with some stakeholder groups. They also discuss internally with our frontline staff to see what their experiences are like, so that we can have a 360-degree understanding of what the service and the experiences are from all different angles of transit.
Quick follow-up. I asked Dan about the, what's coming up. Are you able to share with us any upcoming projects as a result of your customer outreach?
So, 2024 was very much, we're still in the middle of 24, was kind of our discovery and collection year to help inform what the priorities of the agency are. I know some things that we are definitely going to be looking at next year. We're going to be looking at how we do bus shuttles. We have a lot of rail outages here in the area. And so that requires bus shuttles, and our bus shuttle experience isn't top notch. And so we really need to look into that, because that's an area when people are really left wanting for information and where to go. And we need to do better on that. We are going to do better on that. We're also improving the consistency and the wording on our service alerts, so that anything that goes out to Google Transit app, Apple Maps, whatever it is timely, kind of with the idea that if we know, they should know. It's kind of a mantra that we're saying here. And so when we get information, we need to get it out as quickly, as accurately, and as concisely to our riders as possible. And that means service alerts, that means messages on the station signage, all those different types of things, coordinating that so that we can really get that information out in real time, so that our riders can make decisions for themselves. I think that's really, really important.
It certainly is. All right, question for both of you. If there are transit agencies out there looking to start their own customer-facing programs, what advice would you give them about what they might expect during the process of setting these new programs up? So, Dan, why don't we start with you and then move to Mike?
Sure. So I think as far as advice, a few things come to mind. From a state DOT perspective, internally, you should really get to know the other operating units within your own organization. You're going to rely on your colleagues and project managers across all of these different units to carry out the actions that will ultimately improve CX. Also engage your service partners early on if you are developing a CX action plan. In Connecticut, we rely on over 15 different bus service providers and 3 rail providers to deliver services to our customers. So it's important, to understand the perspectives of each partner, large and small, when you're developing statewide initiatives like we are in Connecticut. And Mike touched on this earlier, and this might be an obvious one, but talk with your customers, meet them where they are, and actively engage with them. We've done a lot of tabling and pop-up events here in Connecticut, and we found that to be a very effective way of going out to the busier stations and hubs. And also ride the services for yourself. Get the experience firsthand like the customers do, and do whatever you can at the end of the day just to bring those insights back with you to help inform recommendations, whether those be policy changes or ideas for future projects or initiatives.
Oh, that's great. Mike, how about you?
Make allies with the operations side, because you will absolutely depend on them to be kind of the implementation group that does so many of these changes. And so make allies with them early. Often they will be able to share so much information with you that you'll never get yourself. They see the front line, they see what the operators and mechanics see. This is a long process. Plant seeds all around the agency. I started pushing for a customer experience group back in 2015 here at the agency, and it was in 2024 that it was made official. And so that takes a long time. But plant seeds, the way to do that, I think, is to always start to turn things into the lens of how everybody's actions impact riders. And so once we started to go to our operations team and say, hey, if we input this information this way, you're going to help the lives of 2,000 people a day on this line, or this type of thing. So start like allowing people to see that they're part of the bigger picture. And so people can start to kind of buy into the fact that what they do has value. And I think gain supporting from your senior leadership. Like you got to have support from the senior leadership. I don't see how you can do this without that. And yeah, I finally make friends with the operations side. Be aware of them, and make sure they know who you are, because that's going to be critical to success of anything that you do.
Absolutely. Hope our transit agency partners listening took good notes. So Dan, where can our listeners go if they wanted more information about the Connecticut Customer Experience Program?
You can go to transitcx.com and read up on
Awesome.
our original plan and the annual progress report.
No, that's awesome. And Mike, I know you mentioned it a few minutes ago, but where can folks go to learn about Maryland?
Sure. mta.maryland.gov. And then there's an About tab on the website, and in there you'll see the customer experience dashboard.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to both of you, Dan Baker and Mike Helta, for sharing such valuable insights with our listeners today. The Customer Experience Action Plan, as well as the annual progress reports, of course, highlight our ongoing commitment to delivering the best possible experience for public transportation customers across Connecticut. Our goal, of course, is to not only meet but exceed the expectations and needs of our customers at every single stage of their journey. At the Connecticut DOT, we remain passionate and fully dedicated to keeping our customers at the center of everything we do. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Ben Limmer. Join us next time for another episode of Along the Lines. Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Benjamin Limmer. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.